there's a story in every bottle.
Well,
cheers.
We're live again. Another Monday.
We're live.
Cheers.
And look at these fancy
Welcome,
little
folks.
glasses.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what it is. You know what today is.
This stuff smells fantastic.
You know what today is, right?
I know. You're with your second wife.
On Valentine's Day. That's right. Cheers, second wife.
I'm his second wife.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I knew that was not me.
Ricky gave me a look like, wait a minute. I'm not his second wife.
Bonus child or cousin or something. I don't know.
That sounds good. Yeah.
there you go.
Bonus something.
That's right.
We'll work on that.
Yeah,
Figure out the
we'll come up
family
with something.
relationship.
Maybe we could ask the audience. What was the
Yeah.
what should
is
you be?
Marika?
Co-host and well, off to a good start as always. Welcome, folks. Hope you.
Where are we with this casual sort of setup?
I know.
I was gonna say we're
Isn't that
fancy,
kinda
but
nice?
also casual today.
Yeah,
Fancy
doing
and
something
casual.
different. So if you didn't know, if you haven't been into the winery in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we now have soft seating. We have this couch that's over on the side. So if you ever want to come and join us for piano night on Saturday night, or just come during the day and sit on our couch and
If I'm not here and you're not here, Marika isn't sitting here.
right, because we're all making it our office,
It's
right?
right,
Every time
it
we
is a nice
can.
spot
A
to
nice
sit.
little corner.
Yeah. So this is our new corner. We're showing off the new couch that we have at the winery. So I hope you can come and sit on it with us someday and enjoy some food with us.
Isn't this
some wine.
nice?
But
I haven't sipped this in a little while. That's
this
really
is one of my favorite wines of
it's
yours.
one of my favorites.
This is absolutely
ever,
amazing.
Ever. Like in
So-
all the stuff I've created.
Yeah.
This is one of my top
So
ones.
we're going to get to that in a second, but before we do, just some
You may
basics.
get to it in a second.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
we're just gonna
Thank you.
get into it now. You chat.
Go ahead.
I'll do all the. Yeah, it's just going to be me today, folks. My 2 cohorts here are off into a new world. Anyway, if you're just joining us for the first time, we go live every Friday at 5:30, and we'd love it if you would subscribe to our channel. If you could just push the button down below in YouTube for subscribe, and if you have a little bell on your screen on Facebook, you would subscribe to the Facebook Live broadcasts. And if you subscribe, you'll be notified whenever we go live every Monday, and then some random time when we may be skiing or sailing or on the ice or in some adventure of ours when we might say hello from somewhere far. So please subscribe. If you like what you hear here, share this on your social media sites with your friends and family if you think that they would take interest in the subjects that we're talking about. And please like our broadcast. And if you're watching today, also please let us know you're here. Put your name in the comments so we can say hello. And if you have any questions and you'd like to, or any comments you'd like to make about the show, please do so. Marika here does a great job of keeping up with the comments as they come in, and she'll be answering your questions if not handing them off to Ken and I if she doesn't have the answer. And we'll answer them either on the show. As soon as the broadcast is over, we can always answer them after the show if we don't get to them during the broadcast. So today, being Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's.
I hope you get to spend some of this Valentine's Day with your loved ones and enjoy some wine yourself and maybe some nice
my
chocolates.
second wife.
I was gonna say, yeah,
So it's nice
we'll
thing.
have to be sure to not
Well,
go
we
too
are
far
with our
over,
loved ones, right?
so you guys
Yeah,
can get home to your first wives.
Yes.
Yes. And what we're doing today is celebrating Valentine's Day. Some of you may know we celebrated yesterday with our customers. We had a really wonderful affair up here in the loft. People came and enjoyed some really fine chocolates and cupcakes and strawberries
Ooh la la.
covered in chocolate. And look at that delicious stuff. So we're going to get to try some. I was not able to be here for the event yesterday, and I missed all these goodies. So I'm glad that I can be here today And so we each have these to pair with some of our dessert wines. And we are going to start with this one. But I'll go over the wines that we have here. We have the Mélange Blanc.
Mélange Blanc.
Clearly one of our favorites. If you haven't tried that, that's just an absolutely amazing dessert wine. We have a rather unique passion popper. Looking forward to talking about that. That's one of our more unique dessert wines. And then Deep Blue, which I know many of you are, all, if not all of you, are familiar with. And Deep Red, which is sort of the sister to Deep Blue, came on a little later. And then our Mélange. And we do have two that aren't on this list right here. There's two more. We have a Deep Honeyberry.
We have Deep Honeyberry, which we're nearly out of.
Nearly out of.
Yep.
And then we
A
have
few
our,
bottles left. And then the port, the black port.
Black port.
Yeah, it's an elderberry, black raspberry port.
So wow, we have 7 dessert wines right now.
Right in an array.
How
And
did that
that's what was
happen?
so great about doing the tasting yesterday is we always have a dessert wine on the tasting menu, but it's almost always Deep Blue or Deep Red because those are the flagships. We have more of those, and they're definitely worth it and most popular. But some of the more unique ones, a lot of people hadn't gotten a chance to try it, so it was fun to break them all open at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people I checked in with really had a great time. They loved some of the desserts. They loved some of the pairings. Meeting the chocolatier from Loon was here presenting the chocolates, and it was a great,
That's right.
a great
Loon
setup.
chocolate.
And
Yeah,
the
we had
space.
Loon chocolate here, so
the
he
space was
brought
so
some
nice.
tasters, and then we had Heather Wright of the Sugarbird Bakery. She's the wonderful woman that makes all the spring early cookies that we've started carrying at the winery that many of you have seen. So she made some custom cookies just for this, a couple of really wonderful chocolate.
Was that the
delightful things.
Mexican chocolate cookie or something like that?
Yeah.
Was one.
Sorry,
I met
Bob.
someone
Those ones
downstairs. They
disappeared.
just finished, and they're like, "I couldn't believe this one Mexican cookie that was just mind blowing."
I had one the other
couldn't
day,
get over
so
it.
thankfully I got a chance to
Yeah,
taste
she
it
brought
'cause
some
it
samples
really
by
was
ahead of time,
delicious. Yeah.
thankfully. But
So who's on with us today, Marika? I
I'm
see
seeing
some of our standard.
lots of our usuals. We've got Christine has joined us, Matt, and I assume Lynn, but Matt
Great.
for sure.
Hi, guys.
Priscilla's joined us. Janice
Excellent.
is here. Gary and Paula are joining us from Smuggler's Notch. Just got back from the
I know
slopes.
Gary and Paul are they're well stocked. I saw a photograph of what
Yeah,
they
they stopped in on their way up to Vermont yesterday. Couldn't stay for the tasting, but stopped in on their way.
Oh, nice.
Alicia Jennings has joined us, and that's all that have made themselves known. But
Excellent. I always feel like you may not remember that show. Remember that show when you were a kid, and they'd come on the show and say they have the magnifying glass, and I see Johnny, and I see what was that show? Remember that?
How old are you? What's that show?
You remember the name of it? You know what we're talking
No,
about?
I do. I've heard of that. I don't think I ever saw it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe somebody out there remembers.
Oh, there we go. Romper Room.
Romper
Romper
Room.
It was
Room.
that, of course. That.
Thank you.
And
Matt.
I see Bob.
Yeah, there he is.
Do you have
He's
suggestions?
drinking. He's only 4 years old.
Matt says maybe I should just be left-hand gal, but I'd say right-hand gal. I'm always over here. It's just
Yeah.
right.
Well, on the screen it looks
That's
left.
true.
Stage right.
Right.
All right, let's
right.
get into the first wine. So we're going to pair some wines with some of these chocolates, and
You can do that. I'm just going to sit here and
Just drink more of that.
sip and indulge myself in this stuff. This creation, I've
so
made
good.
the first dessert wine that we came out with was called Deep Blue. And some of the people out there may have heard this story before, but I got to tell it again because it's
So
such
tell
a
it
fun
when you
story.
get to Deep Blue.
Well, it sets up
It-
all
Oh, it
of
sets the stage.
Sets
Okay.
up for
okay.
So let me
All
just
right.
set the
Yeah,
stage
yeah,
for all,
yeah.
and then I'll give sort of the chronology here on some of these wines. But it started with Deep Blue back in 2011 was the first vintage, or 2010, right at the very beginning. So we were making a wide variety of wines, and I was learning about some of the history of making hard cider. And I was reading about how people in New England in the 1700s would pick their apples, grind them up, get that apple cider, and then ferment it. They'd end up with a 7% alcohol product, 5 to 7% from the sugars, natural sugars in the alcohol, in the apples would create that amount of alcohol. And then these ingenious New Englanders that had a long winter time to go through they wanted something that had a little more kick
a
to
little
it.
more to that.
So they recognized that you can use the technique that Native Americans would use to create maple syrup, to get sugars out of maple sap. You would take maple sap running out of a tree, you'd let it freeze, you'd skim that off because that was water, and the sugars would get more concentrated in it. So you could actually get a much sweeter drink just by using the natural freezer that's outside. So the ingenious folks back then with their hard cider would put it into a barrel, an empty rum barrel, because they drink a lot of rum, and they would let it freeze. But alcohol has a very low freezing point. And so what would happen is the water in the hard cider would freeze and create sort of a rind of ice inside the barrel. And all of the flavor, all of the sugars, all of the alcohol would get concentrated in the middle of the barrel. After a few weeks, they'd drill a hole into the middle and they'd pour out or stick a big straw in there and drink this apple jack, this jacked cider that could be 20 or 25% alcohol with intense flavors. And I remember reading that and I, came running over to the place and said, I'm going to jack our Petit Bleu. We had this blueberry wine, our Petit Bleu, and we had some 5-gallon jugs of it.
This is still while we're at Taylor Road.
This is at Taylor Road at your house. Yep. And I said, I'm going to jack this blueberry wine. So I'm already starting with something that's 13% alcohol, not 7. And I'm going to boost it. And I remember taking a sterile bucket and moving over that 5 gallons of blueberry wine into this bucket and putting it out back his porch with a little lid on it. And we had about a good couple of weeks of single-digit nights.
It took a long time.
And it never froze completely.
Yeah.
It formed all these like layers and crystals of ice, of water in there. And I remember kind of breaking it up and pouring it through a strainer to get rid of the ice. And we got this higher alcohol, intensely deep purple blue wine.
Of an alcohol amount we really didn't know because we didn't have a way to measure it at the time. It was a guess.
We went from like 5 gallons to 3 gallons.
So you could guess a little.
Yes, it was around 18% or so that we had jacked it up to. Yeah. And it was good. It was just really fantastic. And the fun part about this in the end is that every time we make a wine not out of grapes, we have to submit a recipe to the federal government. And I had submitted a recipe for Petit Bleu to the federal government that was approved. Petit Bleu, no problem, blueberries, blah, blah, blah. So I resubmitted the formula saying, look, I took this, I froze it, I removed the water, I've got this thing, please give me permission to sell this stuff. We'd already put it in bottles and had a label for it and we called it Deep Blue. And the federal government came back and said, you can't do that. What do you mean? You approved the other one, what's the difference? And they said, well, you actually need a distiller's license because you are cryogenically distilling. You are increasing alcohol by removing the water. So we figured out a way around that, and we make a Deep Blue legally now. Because when I make Petit Blue,
very important.
Yeah,
very important.
We might not be here today.
Yeah, we should probably keep doing things.
It's a lot easier too. When I made Petit Blue, I add water to the blueberries to end up with a wine that has appropriate drinking intensity, because blueberries have a lot of intense flavors to them. To make Deep Blue, I just don't add the water. Then I don't have to remove it by freezing later on.
You need clever.
Worked out. Little light bulb went on.
That's why we have him in the cellar.
So a whole bunch of these wines, all of these dessert wines, are made along that approach of Deep Blue. So this got me down this path going, wow, all right. So what I can work with here is straight concentrated fruits. If they don't have enough natural sugars, I can add sugar during the fermentation to jack the alcohol up as high as I possibly can. And we have Deep Blue, we have Deep Red, we have Melange, Passion Popper, Melange Blanc. There's a whole series now that have come out along this same format.
So for those who may not know, there's a couple of the themes here that we can talk about before we get into it more deeply. But so there's a couple other ways people achieve this result. One is ice wine, which is by freezing the grape itself on the vine.
Right.
And does the same thing. You're capturing.
And they do that with ciders also. Yeah.
Freeze the apples in the tree, and then when they press the grapes and the apples during extreme cold, they leave the ice behind, and the
just get this
concentrated
nectar.
sugars
Yeah.
come out, and then you ferment those sugars, and you have more sugar to ferment, so you get to a higher alcohol, and of course a lot of leftover sugar because there's more sugar than can be fermented
yeast
in
can
an ice
handle, right.
wine. So you end up with a sugar level of 15% or so, and then the other thing that people do, we learned about this actually, Eden Cider was doing this, and we kind of were intrigued by it. They were making iced wine, but in a different way. They were actually picking the grapes during the normal harvest and pressing them into a juice and then freezing the juice before it was made into an alcohol. So
Right, they would freeze the whole thing. They would take a big plastic tote full of cider or whatever it was, and then they would let it thaw. And what thawed first was the
it's
syrupy, thick
It's the
stuff.
same idea as the
It's sort of a
cryogenic
reverse.
distillation, but because it's not wine yet,
because there's no
It's
alcohol
allowed.
yet,
No
they're allowed
alcohol.
to do it.
They're allowed to do that because they're not working with alcohol.
They're just concentrating the sugars, just like ice wines.
They can't call it a true ice wine.
No, well, there's another name, and I got to research this again because I did know at one point, but there is some classifications that you can only call something a true ice wine if it's made in the proper way.
Yep.
And there's some pretty hard and fast rules. It has to
Yes, there
be
are.
frozen for so many weeks, or below a certain temperature for so many weeks. So
I think it originated in Germany.
yes, but a very popular region now for ice wines is Canada.
Canada.
Yeah.
Ontario, Canada is
Oh.
the next to Germany, the most famous place for
Pinnacle.
ice wines.
Pinnacle.
And that's in Quebec.
Yep.
Pinnacle does ice apple wines. Amazing. If you get a chance to go to Sutton, Quebec, which is just literally 15 minutes over the border from Troy, Vermont, you're going to practically go right by Pinnacle. It's a little bit off the beaten path there, but one of the largest cideries in Quebec. And they deliver their ciders around the world. We don't get them that easily here in the States. It's a lot harder to bring alcohol beverages across the border from Canada. Now, probably more than ever. But so it's hard to get Pinnacle here, but they do sell Pinnacle ciders all over Europe. And we can't, they're our neighbor, and we can't get them from right across the border. So there's a lot of interesting ways, similar to what Ken did with these, that people are coming up with ways to produce dessert wines, higher alcohol, higher sugar. And then, of course, some of our wines we often liken to ports. So a port is a whole nother process altogether. It's although I think our Deep Blue and our Deep Blue Reserve are very reminiscent more of a port than they are an ice wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the Reserve. A port is made, again, it's a higher alcohol dessert wine with a higher sugar level in the end. And port is made by actually crafting a wine out of grapes.
Fortifying it.
And then you ferment that wine into the alcohol you're going to fortify it with. So you usually use the grappa.
They use a grape-based spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And usually
But not
it's
from the same batch, from a previous batch.
but
They
similar,
get the
but from vineyards and the same fruit.
Right.
And then they distill that alcohol, and they pour that alcohol into the wine to bring it up to 20%, and that gives you port.
They do it while it's fermenting. So it's interesting. So when you get a bunch of grapes and you crush them and you're fermenting them, the yeast are consuming the sugars and converting those into alcohol.
Oh, they do it to stop the fermentation.
So they'll wait until about 2/3 of the sugars have been completed.
Okay, right.
And they have a small wine of about 10% alcohol with some sugar in it. And then they pour grape-based spirit into it, raising the alcohol to 20%, killing all the yeast, and retaining some of the natural grape sugars.
Right.
And that's their port.
Right.
And then it goes into barrel.
And then a young port is a ruby port, which isn't barrel aged, is it? A ruby port is.
I think some can be.
Really?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's young, and a tawny port is 2 or 3 years in barrel.
It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
at least.
it's 2 or 3.
There's
at least
Yeah.
there could be more
Yeah.
for sure.
And then there's late LBV, the late bottle vintages, because they don't really know how good the quality of the grapes are until it ages for a while.
Well, then there's
they-
the vintage port,
And then it's vintage port.
and the vintage port they have to receive that classification during the year that it was produced.
Right.
So somebody has to make an assumption.
There's
that
a
this
judge, a judgment.
particular- Yes, and they decide.
It would be a fun thing to
I
do,
think
wouldn't
this
it?
will be a vintage
Be a
port.
judge of
Yes,
ports.
we could drink every day.
Yeah.
We already do that, though.
Yeah, I think you
Already
already
having
do
fun.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a little background on a wide variety of dessert wines.
Yeah,
that
we
are
went
sort
all
of-
over the place just
yeah,
then.
That's true. That's right. So now we're back to Melange Blanc.
Yeah, my glass is empty.
Here.
It's amazing how that happens.
Oh, look at
But-
you guys.
Well, you were talking a lot,
I
so
know.
you know that goes.
That's plenty. Oh, maybe it keeps going.
So what should we have this with?
Yes. What did you pair this
I'd
with yesterday?
say, so yesterday we paired this one with some crostini spread with the white chocolate banana bread spread from Waz, and then
Ooh.
a slice of strawberry with a drizzle of chocolate over the top.
Ooh.
They were
We don't have
lovely.
one of those. Should we have a?
I would
chocolate
say of these,
strawberry?
I would think maybe the
white
the
cupcake?
cupcake. Yes. So this cupcake is from Ooh La La Creative Cakes over in Laconia, Chef LaShonda Allen.
Look at that.
And these are vanilla cupcakes with an apple buttercream frosting. And we paired this with the sparkling Winnipesaukee rosé yesterday.
Now, how did that go? Because the rosé is a drier product. Did it seem to go pretty
it
well?
worked pretty well.
I didn't try
think
the
it just sort of
berry.
it fit the vibe, just sort of being the sort of
Mm-hmm.
festive, romantic, sparkling. Definitely, yeah, not as sweet as
That's a sweet cupcake.
It might
So that actually
overpower the
maybe-
wine.
You know, I think the cake and the wine go brilliantly. I think some
But
of
not
the
the
sweeter.
frosting?
Well, the frosting has these sugar crystals in it, and I think it makes it. It's overly sweet. It's a little too sweet. Whereas the cake,
cake.
is not quite as sweet. And if I wipe that frosting off,
Or if you
I have
had
to
just
do
the
because
cake
it's
itself.
and just the,
wipe the frosting off.
I'll eat it. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Or just the cake.
It actually suddenly makes the wine doesn't seem nearly as sweet anymore.
Right.
It's kinda nice.
That if you have something that's sweeter than the wine, then it sort of dries
That's
out
nice,
the
yeah.
wine when you taste it.
Well, I think that's the answer here. Is the
It's the cake itself. So I would think like a pound cake.
Yeah.
A buttery pound cake would go well, or a buttery shortbread would go well. Something that's not too sweet, but it has a nice texture. There's a lot of complexities. I'm not even, if you guys want my cupcake, you know, a cupcake. I'm not a cupcake eating person, especially when there's melange in my glass. Sorry.
Person.
That's fair.
But
I'm actually generally
I didn't even know there were people in the world that didn't eat cupcakes.
You're welcome to.
I'm really pleased about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring them home to Jero.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
There you
I
go.
brought some home to Maya yesterday. First wife. Yeah.
Sure. I'm less of a cupcake person, but it's more just if given the choice between like cupcakes or cookies and like chips and salsa, I'm always going to go the
Chips and
salty snack route rather than
Yeah.
sweet things. But given the choice between a cupcake and nothing, I'll take
Same
the
here.
cupcake.
Cheers to
Yeah,
that.
I'll take the
Cupcake.
Though it isn't a cupcake and nothing. We still have the wine,
Right.
which I think is
And I have to take a step back. After that second bite of the cake, it brought a bitterness out in the wine. It wasn't there.
Ah.
And I don't know what that was. But it brought a new flavor into my mouth that I wasn't.
Because it's changing your mouth chemistry. That's what's fascinating
Exactly.
about wine or any sort of food and beverage pairing or individually, that it has to go with your mouth chemistry. That's why for some people things don't go well at all.
Right.
And other people are like, are you kidding me? This tastes fantastic. And it's all about your own personal mouth chemistry.
That's just black cat.
And that's not right either. It's dark chocolate, little bitter, doesn't work with the melange. I have to try with the strawberry.
Can you eat up your whole slate before we even get to a second wine?
No, I have.
Right, he's got
mine.
mine he can go through too. I know what pairs perfectly with this.
More melange blanc.
Well, I'm gonna make the case that melange blanc does not pair with anything that we have on this plate. Did you find something different?
I only tried it with the cupcake.
What did you think of the cupcake? How was that for you? Was it?
I think I see what you mean about the little bit of bitterness that comes out.
Mm.
The other chocolate's a little bit.
What I've always loved about this wine
The soul swam,
is
the
it's
curry one.
very unique. I'd never had any wine like this. I've never made any wine like this before. I really enjoy a classic dessert wine, which comes out of Bordeaux, out of the Sauternes area. And they vinify these grapes that it's a magical process. So they have these grapes that become ripe, and if conditions are proper, there's a fungus that infects the grapes, and they shrivel up into these disgusting, moldy little off-brown things.
Yum.
I can't imagine the first people that discovered this. They're like, oh my God, it got ruined. All the grapes are ruined. They decided to take all these shrivelly, disgusting grapes and squeeze them and make wine out of them. They go, this is fantastic. So they call it the royal rot, and it's an infection that takes place. It's a botrytis is what it's called. And Semillon is the grape that's typically used in Bordeaux for creating Sauternes wine. And it's very special. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So someone may dedicate a hectare or two of their beautiful Semillon grapes that they can make a nice white wine out of, and they let them get infected, and then they make wine out of it. And
How
if
do you
it doesn't
control
work,
that
it's
infection?
ruined.
Like, how do you make sure that these grapes get it, but the rest of your grapes don't?
Well, most of the other grapes are already harvested and turned into wine.
Okay.
So these they leave hanging on the vines.
And the infection isn't able to continue into the next season.
And it doesn't continue the next season.
Interesting.
The
That's
winter kills it off, and they're all set. But it's fascinating. And Sauternes are just magical wines. It's a kind of like an ice wine, but there's no freezing involved. What happens is this fungus desiccates the grape. So again, you're getting rid of the water, and concentrating all the sugars and all the flavors. And it also adds all these sort of fungal, earthy, awesome, funky character to it. And every once in a while, Maya and I will buy a little half bottle for $80 or $120. We'll splurge on a Sauternes and sip that. And it's really, so for me, this is not exactly like a Sauternes, but it has some of the reminiscence to that. It has that engagement, it has that complexity. It just doesn't have some of that cool earthy funk that's going on. But this is completely New England derived.
What is this? What's in it? Tell me.
There's a whole bunch of stuff in
I
here.
usually wanted to call this everything but
Yeah. Rhubarb, peach, quince, pear, crabapple. I got good at rattling this off yesterday, I think.
Say that again?
Rhubarb, peach, quince, pear, crabapple. That's what's
Yes.
listed on the label.
There's also some other stuff in there.
Just like a little of this, a little of that.
Small of this,
Yeah.
small of that sort of thing that came out. But that's what's amazing to me is it gives this sort of tropical sort of character, but there's no tropical fruit involved in this at all. All this fruit came from right around here.
It's amazing that all of that flavor comes out of that collection of fruit in the way that.
And
it
this
does.
is made in the way that Deep Blue is. So there's, basically no water added. It's just the intensity of all of that fruit.
Yeah.
And it ferments. And there's sugar added during the fermentation to bring the alcohol up.
So it's fermented to 18% alcohol,
Yeah.
not by adding distilled spirits.
Yep.
It's delicious.
All right, we got 4 more to go.
Oh, that's good. And by the way, this did go good. You were correct. That other chocolate is a little lighter. It's not as bitter.
Yep, it's
I
a
think
milk chocolate.
It's a milk chocolate, and it had that cardamom
Curry.
curry. Is curry?
That's to go with the
So,
passion
yes.
popper.
So, next.
Don't eat all that.
Are we doing that next?
Yeah.
Let's do the passion
Yeah.
popper.
But that
So-
curry added something to this.
So, yeah, this is a fun chocolate and a fun wine.
That was good.
So, yeah, the chocolate that we've got is the Winnipesaukee chocolate. So, they're based over in Wolfboro. We love their stuff. They've got a huge variety of different flavors that they put out. But this one is the Little Squam Lake, which is milk chocolate with cashews, raisins, and curry. Which is kind of a funky sort of chocolate. And
I like this chocolate a lot. I'll eat it on its own.
I like the spice ones that they have. My favorite that they have is the Knight's Pond, which is dark chocolate with chai tea spices.
I only tried that once, and I didn't really care for it. I'll go back to it and try it again because It sounds like a great combination. But this
this
curry in here is done in just a great way.
This is the Passion Popper, which many of you may be familiar with. It's been on the shelf for a long time. This is our
2015.
2015 Passion Popper. So
I made a lot of it.
And it's an interesting wine.
It is. This is made 100% out of a very unique fruit called a kiwi berry. There are 25 some odd different varieties of kiwi.
Doesn't UNH say there's 300 different varieties?
I don't know about that.
I think
Maybe they're-
I think UNH puts on their website.
Oh, well, out there, those are, yes, you're right. I spoke to, what's his name? I got 6 different varieties this last fall.
Yeah.
From,
but he put on the article on his website.
Yeah, there's
300.
probably 300 varieties now.
Yeah.
But those are varieties of kiwi berry.
Right.
So I'm talking about like the major fruit category.
The gooseberry, the kiwi,
Yeah, there's a variety of
kiwi
different.
berry.
So this we were hooked up with a guy. Well, I first got introduced to kiwi berries from Greg Mee down in Canterbury.
Canterbury, the Cole Garden Spirits.
Cole Garden Spirits. He now has a distillery, and he actually distills kiwi berries. And he and his wife grow these kiwi berries. They grow on a vine. It's almost like a more robust grapevine. It's a big, robust vine, big trunk to it, and very stiff
And still
arms. And
trellised
you prune
like
it,
a
you
grapevine.
trellis it, and you prune it, and they put out these long strands with all these berries on it. And they're, this sort of size, like a
Large
big
olive.
grape, large olive, and smooth skin. There's no fur. A lot of the kiwis that we have for our decorative fruit and that you find at the supermarket have that sort of fur on the outside of them. You slice it open and it's that green flesh with those little black seeds. Well, the kiwi berry is a cold hardy variety of kiwi that has a smooth skin, so you can eat the whole thing like a grape. And it has this intense high vitamin C, citrusy sort of character to it, very tangy, and that comes through in the wine. And it's just a lovely fruit. And one of the very unique things about this fruit is even in our climate, it can reach the same natural sugar levels as a classic wine grape.
Higher
talk
sugar
about-
levels than most grapes that grow in the Northeast. I mean, you had one year go to 30 bricks, right?
Yeah. And we're lucky if we hit 22 bricks in our cold hardy grapes.
Cold hardy grapes, yeah. It's a really, really unique fruit. And to eat them, I remember we'd get these kiwis from Kiwi Dave down in Pennsylvania, and it was like eating candy. You just wanted to
They're
keep
tasty,
eating
yeah.
them. They're just so sweet and fruity and just like eating candy. And actually, that's like the first time when we discovered wine grapes back in
remember that?
2007, coming back from the docks in Boston, and we're picking off some of the grapes off the vine.
Cabernet is like candy.
It's so sweet.
Your
It was
lips are
unbelievable.
sticky. I
You
mean,
get
it's
to
just
start sweating
you sweat
from all
from all
the
the sugar.
sugar. Yeah, people don't think of that. Most grapes you eat off the table grapes are like 17 bricks, a little over half of what a wine
Yeah.
grape would be. So it's amazing how much sugar there is. So yeah, this is
I love this pairing. This particular chocolate with this wine. So Passion Popper, we didn't come up with this name. It's a
Kiwi Dave
name
did.
of a variety of kiwi berry that Kiwi Dave came up with. He's an organic grower in Pennsylvania. Really, the way I think of it, he really has championed the whole kiwi berry fruit in this country. He's a supplier of many people, and
he's
really
the largest organic grower of kiwi berries in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. His partner went to college at Cal Arts the same year I was there.
Really?
Yeah, I had found that out later on.
Wow.
So it's Kiwi Dave, but UNH has done a lot of work with the kiwi berries, right? And they've been studying it and
For
doing a lot
5
of
or
great
6
things with
years
it.
now.
5 years now, I think he's been there.
The
And,
reason
I think it's because they're trying to develop a good monetary return, a cash crop
for the
for the
cold-
farmers in this region. Because trying to make a dollar, make a living off of the stony, cold ground of New England is difficult.
And especially for, he talked about the farmers in the northern regions of New Hampshire, up above the White Mountains. There just isn't that many options that they can grow in their short season up there, and these will grow beautifully.
Yep.
And there are a few kiwi farms that have started up north of the White Mountains. We haven't interacted with them yet, but hopefully someday we will.
Don't worry, we got more.
Whoops.
All right.
Just did a little tumble.
One down. This is good. Drinking dessert wine.
I guess so. I don't know how I just sort of caught
But
it.
you got that tether that's right there.
I think that might have been part of it.
Difficult.
Tied in.
You can pull that.
What I was going to say is what was I going to say?
Passion. Kiwi berries. UNH, cash crop.
I lost my train of thought.
Growing the grapes north of the.
First time you made
Northern
passion
Notch,
popper.
Yeah. That's right. It'll come back as we go through.
So this is an interesting. This isn't for everybody. Some people try this and they're not sure what to make of it.
Right.
It is really unique. I still find it really intriguing. It's not something I seek out often, but every time I have it, I always feel like that's really interesting. It's really this cool flavor.
I've had a hiatus of dealing with kiwis because I haven't been able to get them. It's been difficult. It was difficult the last time, this is in 2015, coordinating down in Pennsylvania to get the properly picked ripe kiwi up to New Hampshire in proper timing to get it fermenting. And this is what I was going to say actually, is that now that hiatus has stopped and I picked up 6 different varieties of kiwi berries this last fall, and I have some kiwi wine down in the basement, and coming this summer, we're going to have, some new kiwi based wines. One of the things that I learned early on from working with kiwis is it's not an easy fruit to work with. It's very complicated. I've had kiwi-based wines that are beautiful wines going into the bottle, and then they will change in the bottle and evolve. It's a very complicated fruit with some complicated acids in it, and I don't really understand how it works. And this year, what I'm going to be doing is working with it as a blend with other fruits and see how that goes. Because on its own, it's always been a bit challenging. So I'm going to try this time on small scales to work with it as a blender and see where that goes. So that's going to be fun.
I just remembered if anybody's interested, a few months ago, you guys did a Facebook Live on kiwi berries.
Yes.
So that would be, if people are interested, you can go back and watch that episode.
That's right. We went through this whole thing before.
Yeah.
We went through, we dug out some old ones.
Yep.
And even that sparkling, traditional kiwi
Those are the ones that,
wine.
to me, it reminds me almost of some of the sort of farmhouse sours that you get. It's like beers.
Yeah.
You get that sort of.
Remember
the Rebel that we had? The year that David Bowie died?
And was that a kiwi based?
Yeah.
It was a session mead, right?
Yeah, with kiwi. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I do remember that.
And it had almost like a beer-like.
Yeah,
a lot of
to
people still ask for Rebel.
I know.
It's been gone for a long time.
Like you said, it's this aroma and character is very unique, and some people don't care for it, and other people, they can't find it anywhere else.
Well, and I have to say, when I have it with that chocolate,
That's what usually gets people. If they have the
This
first one, they
chocolate
think,
is
"Oh God, that's
perfect
strange."
with
But
this.
Yeah.
you try something
It tastes
about
great.
the uniqueness of that curried chocolate with the passion popper.
it's
Just-
really,
it
really
works.
amazing. Yeah.
It's one of the coolest pairings that we have.
And I remember the first time that you made this, this was a concentration of pure kiwis. There was no water added. It's just pure Hybrix kiwis that forms this mash, this green.
So this was the third time we made this.
Yeah, no,
This
but the
was
first
the
time
scale up. The first time was with you.
was
with
this, and it was these little tiny, you had these little carboys, and I proceeded to smash one of them. We had like $400 worth of kiwis in this little carboy, and I dropped it off just like you did the glass.
the platform.
Off it goes, smash.
We had one of
Cleaning
those
kiwi
during our
goop.
kiwi episode, like Marika reminded us of a few months ago, and that was really magical. Oh, maybe we could do one of those for the 2-bottle.
The kiwis.
because that's really
Which one?
I don't know.
One of the early.
Yeah,
from that original?
2012.
We still have that?
Oh yeah. Remember, it turned like dark, blackish, stout colored.
Yeah.
It got really dark. We have a few of those, and it was fantastic when we opened it up.
Yeah.
Age. This is getting darker as
Yes,
it
it
ages.
is getting darker.
It's
A
getting
couple
darker.
more years.
Yep.
We're going to have that around.
All right, we better move on. Are there
Yeah, it's true.
any
It's already
comments from
6:20.
anybody on the?
Not questions. We've had a few.
Okay.
Yeah, Priscilla hasn't heard
You're
of
on
the
it.
Kiwi
All
Bears
right.
before. Lori Michelle is on. She remembers the Rebel Rebel.
Oh, great.
And Geraldine and Chelsea have joined us as well.
We listened to David Bowie the whole time while we were bottling Rebel Rebel.
I think I need a new glass because that kiwi is going to really.
Yeah, I switched glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a new one. I
I
broke
got
my
another.
last one.
There's another clean one here if you want.
Mine was empty.
Oh, that's right.
I got rid of my last glass.
See, we just
Yeah,
just finish the
Done with
wine and
this one.
toss it over your shoulder.
Perfect.
It's perfect.
Good. Mazel tov.
So what's next? That's like deep blue.
Deep blue.
All right.
All right, let's go back to the source here. This is nice in the middle of the 5 that we have for today. This is how it all got started.
Oh, we didn't even mention. We said 7. There's 8 dessert wines because Deep Blue has Deep Blue Reserve.
Oh, that's right.
So we have 8 dessert wines right now. We're not for long though. A few of them are just about gone.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we have a few bottles of the black port. We have a few bottles of the deep honeyberry. We have a few cases of the passion popper. We have just a couple cases of the melange. We have maybe a dozen or 2 dozen cases of the melange blanc. And then deep blue and deep red we make on a regular basis.
we have a lot of it.
So we have plenty of that.
Yeah. And Deep Blue is the original. This is the one that you
This
learned
is the
about
original.
in the very beginning. This has started this whole trend.
In fact, I have 3,000 pounds of blueberries showing up Wednesday to
boy.
make the
To
next
make
batch of deep blue.
And-
This is our one dessert wine that's in the state liquor stores as well, the deep blue.
And it's the one I think that's going to go with everything on this plate.
Yes, it will.
It's so good. It goes good with chocolate. It went good with the strawberry because the strawberry had chocolate on it.
And that's a chocolate raspberry cupcake.
Oh, that's definitely going to go good with that, I think.
Well, you should say that for the deep red or some of it.
I
Bob.
will. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Blueberries are just such a wonderful fruit. They're very tiny. These are wild blueberries. So they're very small, very tiny, a lot of skin. And the skin is what has all the color, all the flavors, all the anthocyanins, all the antioxidants that are good for us. This is extremely healthy.
And
Those good whole fruits.
it
yeah.
goes best with that chocolate cupcake.
Really?
Yes. That went so beautifully with that
Wow.
cupcake. I don't know why. Did you try it?
No, not yet. I just had it with the strawberry. I had it with some of the.
It wasn't
The
as
pure dark.
a little too much of the strawberry came through in the end, and it goes good with the chocolate on the strawberry. But I think the strawberry was too tart for it. It wasn't ideal. So
This
none
is,
good with chocolate covered strawberries, but that chocolate and that deep blue just goes brilliantly.
What we have here is the 2019 Deep Blue, and we're down to the last like one case. And then I have the new 20 Deep Blue coming out. I figured out a new technique, and it's pushing 20% ABV.
No, it's 18.
It's 18. We're allowed a little leeway. But the intensity of the 2020 wild blueberries was fantastic.
Well, the sugar level was
very
high,
high
right?
bricks, the highest ever in our
You
history.
said it got up
of
to
doing it.
16 bricks.
17 for some of
17
them.
bricks?
Yeah.
For a wild blueberry. And most
was
of them come in as an
tremendous.
average of 12. That
So it
an
was
amazing
tremendous. So
year.
I didn't add as much sugar to it to boost it, and I had tried a new technique with yeast, and really worked out. And I have an ebullimeter to actually calculate it.
Have you been holding
accurately.
back on this?
It's about to be
I don't think
released.
I've tasted that.
You have it. You have a couple of new things. Wait till you try the 20 Petit Blue.
Oh, boy.
That's a whole new thing that's not out yet. Well, we actually have the first batch of 20 Petit Blue right now. The second batch, the bigger batch, is soon to come out about another month.
Matt wonders.
There's a lot of stuff in the chute, Bob.
I gotta spend more time in the cellar.
All right. Matt was asking if we ever made deep blue slushies this summer, and no, we didn't go there. But they would be so good.
Oh, that would be really, really good. That would be really
we didn't,
good.
did we?
No,
No.
we did
Great.
Petite Blue.
We'd have to serve half-size slushies.
They'd be expensive slushies
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Or the same price, but half the size.
And dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know
Would
that we
be
want to do that to people.
delicious.
Can you imagine? That would be a lot.
Yes.
Matt, we will have to experiment with that nonetheless. Maybe when you're around this summer, you can experiment with us.
Yeah,
We'll see what that's
Try
like.
them out.
Yeah, I think this, last summer was our first summer with the wine slushies. And we experimented with a
Everyone
few
was
different
good.
things. And it was a lot of fun. And now we will have a lot of different options
Mm-hmm.
coming up.
Yeah, it surprised me how good everything was.
It's amazing to hear Ken talking about wine slushies.
I didn't talk about it.
Deep red?
Good deep red, yeah. So this was just a direct.
Wow.
This was a direct takeoff from Deep Blue.
It's
You just
not
decided to
exactly,
take-
though.
No, okay.
No, I didn't do a direct takeoff.
No, originally though, the idea.
Well, so the idea was to do a non-water added pure fruit ferment,
Yep.
higher alcohol. But what I did, the first 2 5-gallon batches, which took 200 pounds of raspberries, one of them I made like Deep Blue with sugar added. The other one I made with honey added instead of sugar. And I did those separately and let them age. And I tried them. And I really liked the honey, what honey brought to the ferment. But I liked a little bit of what the sugar brought. So then when we made our first
blend.
real batch of deep red in 2016, it's about 2/3 honey and 1/3 sugar. So it's a mead with raspberries, no water added. And this is the 2018 vintage, made the same way. And so it's a honey version of a concentrated dessert, high fruit.
Somebody
compound.
mentioned us. I don't know if you saw the Google. There was a review about this particular wine.
Oh,
that
really?
I shared with
Yeah.
somebody in the last 3 or 4 days. I forget it was. Yeah, it was on Saturday morning. Somebody was curious about it. I shared it with them, and they were so enamored with it. They bought a bottle, and then they put a nice words for us up on Google about it.
It
This-
just jumps
this is
out of the
my
glass,
favorite.
the aromas on this.
Yeah,
are
and
just,
and it's got that nice tartness. It's different than Deep Blue.
Mhm.
I didn't
It's
find
much
it
more
going.
fruity.
Yeah. I didn't like it with the chocolate raspberry cake. The two came together and sort of muted each other out. You know what I mean? They like crossed each other off.
You really liked it with the Deep Blue. You
Yes.
thought it was just
I
awesome.
loved it with the Deep Blue,
But not so much
but
with
not
this.
with this.
Really?
Yeah. Didn't make
They're
sense.
fighting?
They're fighting. Yeah, they like canceled each other out. The raspberry cake. I mean, could be just me. I don't know if you tried it. Did you try it?
Yeah, I think, yeah,
Was it good for you?
pretty good.
Try the
but
cardamom. Try the cardamom
Really?
chocolate. That's really nice with this, I think.
Oh,
And the dark chocolate was too much. I
The
didn't like
cardamom.
it. But the milk chocolate, I bet you is going to
Yeah.
be good.
You're going to run out of chocolate, Bob.
only one more wine.
I was going to say I was eat yours, but you're eating yours.
I am.
Oh, no.
I like chocolate.
I know. All right.
Yum.
I agree. Cardamom goes good with this.
The cardamom, yeah,
Cardamom chocolate's really good.
it's really,
I gotta bring it home.
it's really good.
I got to bring Geraldine home some cardamom chocolate.
Yeah, yes, that's good Valentine's.
For
Day.
Valentine's Day.
That's right. That's right.
I love the deep red.
Hmm?
I love deep red. It's
Yeah.
so wonderful.
Now, did we
I
try
just-
this with the strawberry?
I did. It actually, it surprised me.
Didn't work.
I bet it made it kind of bitter.
It made the wine taste much more alcoholic.
Yeah.
something.
Oh, alcoholic.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have to try it. Just because I got to finish this last strawberry.
The wine has become more cloudy too as it aged in the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are essentially all of our wines, except for our straight meads,
See what I mean?
Yeah, it's not right.
are made like red wines, and red wines over time will drop sediment. It's just a natural process over the years with these organic molecules link together and become large, and they precipitate out, and the wine changes character over time because of that.
And these are filtered, right?
No.
Oh, so that's also why they might have sediment.
Yeah, but when they go into the bottle, they're clear.
Sure.
Yeah, they go into the bottle, they're clear. But even filtered wines will throw sediment after time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The things will reconnect.
All right, we have one more, and we have 5 minutes.
Matt's given pairing with the deep red is almonds sautéed in butter and onion powder. So you get a savory.
Really?
cake.
Savory. Two thumbs up on that.
With onion powder.
Who knows?
That's amazing.
I can't wait. You know.
When's
guys,
Matt going to be here?
Matt
That's next week.
is coming to cook with us. He's
is-
going to cook for us. He's got a whole meal. I can't wait, Matt.
This is
I
Yeah,
can't
Matt,
wait.
as soon as you can, if you want to let us know what your meal plan is, we can post it out there so people can get that preview.
Oh, gosh.
He shared some of the stuff he's going to be,
Okay.
and I did put it
Right.
in the
Okay. It's already
posting.
there.
Yeah, but if you make any changes to that, you certainly should let us know. And we need to coordinate and make sure we have the right tools, the right
Yep.
cooking tools.
I don't know if we planned it this way, but the bookends to tonight's show
Melange and
are
melange blanc.
perfect. Melange Blanc and now Melange, because this was the first creation after Deep Blue, was Melange. I made the first Melange in 2012. And it's a whole medley of local dark fruits. Melange.
What's melange mean?
Well, melange is a mixture, and I learned about it decades ago studying geology for a famous area in the French Alps where a bunch of rocks are sheared past one another along this fault zone, and it creates a rock type called a mélange. And there's another type of melange in geology, which is underwater development, where materials get mixed. It's like a flish. And
A flish. I like that word.
flish is another good geologic term.
We could call a wine a flish.
Flish. Anyway, so the first melange was made with choke cherries. I picked off, Maya and I picked off a stone wall at Greg Mee's house in Canterbury, combined with other things from around here. And
That was in 2012?
That was 2011. I made it in 2011 was the first one. 2012 was the most
was
superlative
the best one
vintage
you've ever
of
made.
melange, because that year, 2012, produced the best dark berries in New England, which is what 2020 did again, at least with the wild blueberries. I haven't made melange since 2017.
You're
I remember bottling this. This is one of the first bottling events that I
Ah.
did, and it was
Your
Fun day.
2012, yeah, the 2012 melange and the 2015 melange blanc,
17 melange.
2017
Yeah.
are your two best creations, next to the 2012 Deep Blue Reserve. I think
13.
it's 12, 13.
13 Deep Blue Reserve.
Yeah,
Right.
Those three are just mind blowing. I mean, this is the case with all wine. Every vintage is going to be different for different reasons. Mother Nature is going to treat the fruit differently. It's going to change differently in the cellar. It's a natural process, so it's always going to be different. We never know which is going to be the best vintage. So even with all of these wines, there are some years I like better than others, and more inclined to want
Yeah, me too.
to drink. I mean, Melange Blanc has no, until you created that vintage, it wasn't one of my favorites. And then you put this out, and it quickly became one of my favorites.
I'm not making it anymore because I figured it out perfectly, and I don't want to try again.
You
'cause
can't repeat it.
I don't think so.
Oh yes, you can. You can't only repeat it. You're going to make it better.
Well, I'm waiting to. I've got to repeat it again. I
You'll
got to
make it better.
I got to.
I'm going to stash a case away. I'm going to have to put some of that in the cellar.
Oh yeah.
Is that some in the library?
yeah.
You got some of that? In the library?
I sure hope so. I should.
We should check.
I still have plenty. Still have quite a few cases.
Make
I'll put
sure.
a few of those up
Yeah,
there.
we need that in the library because I want to taste that in 10 years. I think that's going to be amazing.
this one's
So-
different. This one has almost that kind of like medicinal sort of tonic.
So what I
aromas to
love
it. I think
about
that's
this.
the elderberry, maybe.
No, you know what it is? It's the aronia berry.
Aronia berry.
This is the first time I
That's
got to
what- there's
work
a different
with.
character in
There's
this.
a totally different character here. I got to work with a berry called an aronia berry, which is supposed to be even more healthy antioxidant than wild
it
blueberries
feels
and
healthy
elderberries.
somehow.
And it has
do you
what
notice like a dusty character? Is that the Arona berry?
So that's the Arona berry. So the Arona berry, and it took me the longest time. It has the same aromatic, that dusky aromatic that daylily flowers have.
Yes, that's it.
It's the same.
That's what it was.
One comes out of this berry. It took me the longest time. I'm like, it's like the daylily. It's like that mead that I made.
Yeah, that's funny.
Very interesting.
Made that connection.
It's very, very unique.
What I just learned, which I learn more from sitting here on Monday afternoons with you guys going over this stuff than I do any other time, because this forces us to try things different, to pair things different, and to really dig in on the wines more than we do on a daily basis. So, but what I learned here is not all dessert wines go good with all dessert. I mean, I generally think, if you're having a sweet wine, you have it with a sweet dessert course, you're going to be in good shape. I don't think so. There were a couple of those pairings I just wouldn't have wanted together. I wouldn't have enjoyed.
I tend to focus on the wine itself as the dessert. I agree with you that I think pairing dessert wines, because they're concentrated, they're intense, it's not easy to do.
Yeah.
And I think the most successful ones that I've tried have been like with a plain cheesecake or a
Vanilla ice
plain
cream.
shortbread.
I've poured deep blue over vanilla ice cream or deep red over vanilla
Vanilla
ice
ice
cream or
cream.
raspberry sorbet.
So that's a good
yeah.
point.
I like doing
so
that.
something
You provide a basis for the wine to flourish over.
Mm-hmm.
right, something a consistent flavor and character, not something with a lot of complexity.
But
Because the
yet,
wine is so
today-
complex.
Our favorite pairing was the most complicated flavor profile.
What was your favorite?
Well, no, with that little Squam Lake chocolate. Cashews, raisins, and curry.
Oh, yes.
That's
right.
the most unique,
No, so
strong
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's not easy.
flavor. It's just different.
It's somehow easier to pair wines with savory foods. It makes more sense. I usually, when I'm thinking about savory foods, I can think about the pairing and get it in my head.
Would you put a beer with any of these?
The desserts.
Because we've talked about pairing beer.
Well, some of those big sweet Belgian beers would go beautifully with some of the cake, maybe with the
I do well. I mean, a dark, like heavy, milky
like a
cream
bourbon
stout.
stout.
Those are dessert.
What
ones.
was that one you were having on Saturday?
Fudge brownie stout.
Fudge brownie
from
stout.
603. Or no, pipe dream. There's I loved one of the talking about fun mini pairing events. Kettlehead a few years ago did a Girl Scout cookie flight.
Oh, wow.
So they had
that's a great
four different
idea.
tasters of beer with
Do you mind if we
four
take
different.
that, Kettlehead?
They're selling them at the gas station on the
Is
way
it?
home.
Is it
I was
cookie
going
time?
past the
Oh
other day.
boy, we could do it.
That
So
might
yeah,
be fun.
they did
Thin
really well. I
Mints.
think they did.
Nice.
I think they did the Thin Mints with a raspberry sour. They did. I think they had a lighter,
that's a
like
great
maybe
idea.
a lemon, like a shandy type with the lemon cookies, and then the caramel
I see a
the
few
Samoas,
comments scrolling up over there.
with a stout. It was very well done. Their pairings.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm
So
gonna have
see.
to try that.
Yeah.
We might have
So we'll
to.
have to wind down soon. It's hitting 6:30. Matt's talking a little bit about what he's bringing.
Great.
I don't
You know-
Loon has tuned in. Great. Nice to see you.
Who?
Loon Chocolate has tuned in.
Oh, great. Hey,
Excellent.
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it was awesome to have you here.
For coming out Sunday. I'm sorry I missed you. I couldn't be here yesterday, but I really.
I got to catch up with him.
Oh,
that
good.
was great.
Good.
Yeah.
He's
really good.
it's so exciting. Loon Chocolate's got some amazing stuff going on down in
Yeah,
Manchester.
they've got a
Got a new
wonderful
place.
new location with
And
603
it's
Charcuterie.
something to do with charcuterie. Yeah.
Yeah,
they-
it's the 603
603.
Charcuterie. There's someone
603.
that's been
Right.
here to do a class, and I think is planning another one in the works.
yes. Danny's been talking
They've
to her.
opened a shop together down in Manchester, so that's really exciting for them.
That's great. And what was I going to say? Shoot. Just something that popped into my head, just like you. It popped right back out. Check them. Bing, bing. See what drinking does? I was going to say, we shipped over to beer for a second, and Vulgar was here on Saturday. If any of you are not familiar.
Were they pouring?
They were pouring.
Yeah, they were here on Saturday.
Right.
Awesome.
They had
Yeah, I wish
some-
you could have been
some
here. It
Really
was-
nice.
it was really
ones.
fun
Actually
having you here.
one of the owners of the brewery came. Super nice guy. I hadn't met him before.
I
Jason.
think I met him. What's his name?
Jason.
Tall
Jason.
guy.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, really nice guy. And and great beer. Really enjoyed having him here, and our guest enjoyed having him here. And we were talking about the book Brewmaster's Table, which he had read.
Garrett.
Yeah. Garrett
Oliver.
We did an episode on that.
And he,
That's cool,
and he said, "Well, there's an even better one." And so I ordered it. You probably saw it today. It just came.
The one that she has.
I started it today.
I know his book because he did Radical Brewing, and I have that book.
Oh, so you haven't read this one though?
No, I haven't read this one.
Good, because he
This
says
is like an encyclopedic book, like how the tongue works and how all sorts of things. It's an intense read.
Yeah,
we will let you know. Marika's going to read it first, and I got second dibs on it.
No, it's a great book.
And then we'll let you know what about this new book that we just discovered. But Vulgar Jason was the guy who recommended it.
He said, they give it to all their new staff to read.
Yeah, so cool.
John works there. You know?
Yeah, John Boyden. He used to work here, and now he's working at Vulgar. It's a small world we're working in. I love the camaraderie and the spirit in the craft beverage world. It's really, really wonderful, especially in the beer side. It's really just great how people embrace each other.
Well, it's like the people watching tonight and us, taking time out of our lives to enjoy something that's enjoyable, that's engaging, that creates conversation, creates an elevated experience to our lives. It's what it's all about. It's great.
So on that note, cheers to that. And so excited again to experience the elevated experience we're going to have next week when we're going to have a guest host. Mm-hmm. This will be the only time we've never had a guest host before. Matt's going to be our guest host. He's good. Folks, Matt's going to run it. He's been our guest here for since the beginning, and he's gonna cook us some great foods. I'm really excited.
Where is it going to take place?
Right here. Right here. We're going to set up the kitchen. Remember we set that whole.
Yep.
We're going to have an overhead camera to watch.
Oh yeah, you did that before.
Made.
Well, when you did the.
I'm excited. Yeah, we'll have a couple cameras, and we'll be able to show you.
Plenty of Red Scare.
Hadn't thought of this, Matt, but if you've got a recipe that you want to share, you should type it up so that we could share the recipe. If not, during the show, maybe you have it ready for after the show. We can put it out there. So,
do we need to bring Red Scare over, Matt? Plenty of different Red Scare.
I'm thinking we should have Red Scare.
I think so.
He's said a few times he likes Red Scare.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I just had a thought.
Uh-oh.
Is it a good thought to share?
What if I made a deep red scare? What if we
already have
concentrated?
eight dessert wines.
No, a couple of those are going away. They're disappearing. What about a deep red scare?
I think Matt's already chiming in. He must have already said yes.
He can bring some. I
wonder if I could do that.
Oh, don't bring your own red scare.
We've lost.
Yeah, don't bring any wine, Matt, other than what we make if there's something else.
We have it here.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, great. Thank you, folks, again for spending another Monday evening, especially this very special Valentine's Day with us. I hope you were with your loved ones when you did. And if you're not, I hope you're going home to your loved ones to celebrate this holiday. And we look forward to seeing you with our friends Matt and Lynn, who are going to be here next week. And we'll see you then, too, at 5:30 next Monday.
Yep. Cheers.
That's 21st. Cheers.
Bob, you got a snail in your face.